What's up, everybody? Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. This is your Sweet 16 primer. We are one weekend down, two more to go to crown a champion. Excuse me. 52 teams out of the 68 team field have been sent packing, told to see ya, beat it. 16 teams remain with a pulse. Let's talk the biggest stories coming out of weekend one. I would say number one, Oral Roberts, a 15 seed, takes down two-seeded Ohio State in overtime, and then they rally from 11 down to beat my Gators. We're down 11 with about 9.5 minutes left. Fourth exit from the NCAA tournament in the last decade, where the Gators have blown a double-digit lead in the last 10 minutes of the second half. Heartbreak hotel, but not really very fluky in my mind. Max Asmus, Oral Roberts, leads the nation in scoring. Kevin Obanor had 20 of his game high 28 points against Florida in the second half. He went for 30 and 11 on the Buckeyes. Oral Roberts is 11.5 point underdog to Arkansas. Arkansas in its first Sweet 16 since 1996, if you can believe that. I mean, Nolan Richardson you go back to the early 90s, there was Michigan in the Fab Five, there was UNLV when Tark had it rolling pre-probation. That kind of ended 93-ish because they just got hammered by the NCAA, and Tark eventually he left to take the Spurs job. If I remember, and that only lasted like 30 games. But anywho, Arkansas and Nolan had it rolling as good as anybody in America. There was again Michigan, Arkansas, there was North Carolina, there was Duke, there was UNLV, early 90s. But those were the and Kentucky obviously with Pitino. But when Arkansas came into the SEC in '92, my whole life I've been going to the SEC tournaments. It was my dad and I's father-son trip. We went to a total of 17 of them eventually past, growing up, college, etc. But every year, my whole childhood growing up, it was 80% Kentucky fans and then just a split of the rest of the SEC among the other 20%. In 92, when Arkansas came, that changed. Arkansas would bring about as many, if not as many fans as Kentucky to all those SEC tournaments early mid 90s. And that just speaks to what a drought it has been for the Razorbacks. It matters at Arkansas. There are a lot of SEC schools not named Kentucky where it doesn't really matter. Like, do you think Alabama fans have given a rat's rear end that they haven't been any good in basketball the last 15 years since Godfrey had some pretty good years in the early 2000s? In fact, he took Alabama to its only Elite Eight in program history in 2004. Now, Wimp Sanderson took them to a bunch of Sweet 16s in the 80s and 90s, but never was able to get past the region semifinal. But it matters hoops. I mean, Bud Walton holds like 18,000. I mean, that's the house that Nolan built. And they've had nothing in 25 years. 96 is their last Sweet 16. They were calling the Hogs late Sunday night and into the early morning hours after they survived Texas Tech. Nobody could make a bucket at crunch time. But like, I liken Arkansas's drought to, let's take a team that's still dominant these days, like a Michigan State or a Duke or obviously not so much this year with either of those teams, but a Kansas, whoever. And let's say they're going to go 25 years without a Sweet 16. So it's 2021. That's 2046. If I walked up to somebody on the sidewalk today and I go, hey, guess what? Duke's not going to go to a Sweet 16 until the year 2046. Nobody would buy that. That's what a drought it's been in the Ozarks in hoops. And that state is all in on this team. And they face 15th seeded Oral Roberts on Saturday night, and Arkansas is 11.5 point favorite. I'll have some more stats on that game in a minute. The other big stories the Pac-12's domination. 9-1. Colorado's lost FSU. The only setback for what I've always been calling for the last half dozen years or so, the Conference of Champions. But and not only do you have 4 teams in the Sweet 16, but you have a 6 seed, a 7 seed, an 11 seed, and a 12 seed that get you there. So hat tip to the Pac-12. What a performance this past weekend. The Big Ten, touted as the best conference in all of college basketball all season long. Only one of 9 teams is still standing. Illinois, a 1 seed, punted by Loyola Chicago. Wire to wire, double digit pimp slap. Ayo Dosunmu came up lame. The All-American just did not come to play. And Cameron Krutwig was incredible. So Michigan's the only team left from the Big Ten. Oh, and you had Ohio State, a 2 seed, gone. Iowa gets waxed by Oregon. Now Oregon got the hall pass into the round of 32 with the unfortunate COVID no contest and withdrawal from VCU, and you got to feel for those kids and coaches that dealt with the protocols and all that all year long, earn your way into the tournament, and then don't get to play. I can't even fathom, can't imagine the anger and disappointment for those guys. That really sucks. Um, so Iowa, and Purdue, a 4 seed, loses to North Texas. At least Wisconsin won an 8-9 game, advanced, was competitive with Baylor, for the most part, but Baylor, comfortably coasted the last 8 minutes of the game for the most part. Uh, we hit on Oral Roberts, we hit on Arkansas, we hit on the Big Ten's disaster, catastrophe, and the Pac-12's dominance. All right, so let's look at some games this week. Baylor -7.5 to Villanova. Surprised Villanova got here. Now they caught a break, not having to play Purdue and getting North Texas instead, and getting it, after North Texas just had an overtime game, and obviously one of the bigger wins in program history. But without Gillespie, I'm surprised Villanova made it here. But props to them. Jay Wright, one of the best in the biz. I think they go down to Baylor. If I had to pick it, I'd probably go Baylor, but I'm not in any hurry to have any action on that game. So Oral Roberts is 11.5 to Arkansas. I lean Oral Roberts. So they played. This is a rematch. They actually played at Bud Walton on December 20th, and Oral Roberts actually led the game by double digits at halftime, 40-30. However, they got destroyed on the glass. And they've been getting beat on the boards by Ohio State and Florida. The Gators just committed an unfathomable amount of turnovers, 20, which opened the door for them to rally to victory. But on that night in Fayetteville on December 20th, the Hogs had 23 offensive rebounds. They had a rebounding advantage of 54-29. I mean, that is ridiculous. And Oral Roberts has gotten to rebound better than that if they want to cover this weekend. Obviously, they want to win outright, but I want them to cover or win outright, whatever. But they ended up, obviously, they're up 10, like I said. They ended up losing that game by 11, which would be a cover this week with plus 11.5. There have been some 12s out there. Let's see. Doesn't look like, oh no, there is win. The win still has it at 12, but Arkansas pulled away, ended up winning that game 87-76. So a couple more little factoids on that. The over is 17-7 overall for Oral Roberts, but the unders cashed in 4 straight for Arkansas and 7 of its last 9. And the total is 159, and the Razorbacks have seen the under cash in 6 straight when they've had totals of 158 or higher. So that's kind of some contradictory stats for you to examine or do with what you wish on the total. But more justification for my play on Oral Roberts is that they've been an underdog 14 times this year, 11-3 against the spread, 6 outright wins, and they've been a double-digit dog 6 times, and they're 5-1 against the spread with an outright victory. That includes like going to Stillwater, only losing by 5 at Oklahoma State. Oral Roberts has played a lot of the big boys this year and fared quite well, as the Buckeyes and the Gators are well aware. So Loyola Chicago was probably the most impressive team last week, and now they get a 12 seed in Oregon State. However, Oregon State is absolutely on fire, and here's how on fire they are. They have won 5 games, both straight up and against the spread. All 5 of those opponents are tournament teams. Tennessee, Oklahoma State, which the Beavers sent those two packing, a 4 seed and a 5 seed. See you beat it, and they beat them by double digits. And 3 of these 5 recent wins during this winning streak are by double digits. Oregon, a Sweet 16 team, also took double-digit treatment from the Beavers. The other 2 wins were over UCLA and Colorado. Let's remember, Oregon State went in the Pac-12 tournament knowing they had to win the tournament to get a berth, the league's automatic bid, and they did so. Now, check out these numbers. Their hot streak goes back even further. Obviously, I've told you they won 5 in a row. Oregon State has won 9 of its last 11 outright, and in its last 21 games, for our purposes, 17-3-1 against the spread run. Now, as a underdog, the last 12 times for Wayne Tinkle's team, they are 11-1 against the spread with 8 outright wins, and their last 12 as dogs. Their last 18 as dogs. Oregon State 15-3 against the spread with 11 outright wins. They're catching either 6.5 or 7 to Loyola of Chicago. Alrighty, let's see. Syracuse, probably my favorite pick of the weekend. I like the Cuse. Buddy Boeheim is absolutely on fire. In the last 4 games, he has scored 25, 30, 31, and 27, and he has made 24 of 43 3 balls. That's 55.8%. I thought Houston was very fortunate to escape last week. They had to close the game against Rutgers on a 14-2 run to pull out a 63-60 win. Trailed pretty much the entire second half of that game, and only to barely slip by Rutgers, and hat tip to the Scarlet Knights, their first NCAA tournament appearance since 1991, and they defeated Clemson in the opening round. So I like Syracuse. I got it at 6.5 on Sunday night. It's now 6. I got plus 235 on the money line. It's now 220. Syracuse led most of the game. West Virginia rallies, takes the lead temporarily. Syracuse takes West Virginia's best punch, but weathers it and then pulls away down the stretch. Buddy Boeheim, Ricard, the point guard veteran, like him. Syracuse is hot, man. They won 5 of its last 6. They've covered all 6. The only outright L, it was a tie game against Virginia. Virginia hit a buzzer beater in the ACC tournament. Going back even, So 20th Sweet 16 appearance for Jim Boeheim. What a brilliant career for him. And this one is probably his most special, with his son being his best player. All right. Let's see. What else? So Michigan's laying a short number to FSU. I don't really like that game. Creighton Gonzaga, I don't really like that game. Oregon, Southern Cal. So both of those teams are hot. Southern Cal's got great length. They've got great rim protection. They beat Oregon during the regular season. The second game in Eugene got canceled due to COVID. But in the first meeting in LA, USC led 43-22 at halftime. They ended up dominating the glass 39-25 in that game. and they ended up winning 72-58 as a 3.5 point home favorite. So the combined score of 130 went under the 139.5 point total. But this Oregon team, now they had Will Richardson for the USC game. That was February 22nd. But they have been much better with Will Richardson. He came back in early February. He averages 11.7 points, 3.9 assists, 3.5 boards, 1 steal per game. They are 12-3 with him. They trounced Iowa 95-80, even though Garza went for 30. I want to say it was 36-12. I know he had 36. So, anyways, in Alabama, don't don't know that I'll lay the 6.5. I'm very happy for Mick Cronin. If I'm not mistaken, this is only his second Sweet 16 in his career, despite taking Cincy to the tournament year in and year out of his tenure. I don't know if he went 100% on tourneys, but it was close to it. So happy for Mick Cronin, but I think they fall to Alabama now. Whether Alabama covers or not remains to be seen. My bracket, shambles. So when I say shambles, if your bracket contest, if it has the same scoring system as mine, if you don't have the title winner, you're out. Well, I had Illinois winning it in my bracket. I think we had 65 people in our bracket contest, and 14 had Illinois, and I was number one for the maximum points that you could get out of the 14 that had Illinois. So Loyola Chicago wrecked that. And then I had Oklahoma State in my backup bracket. They gone. So my brackets are in shambles. It's just bets and ball games from here on out. I hope that helped. Sweet 16 primer, majorwager.com. Brian Edwards, thanks for tuning in. Good luck with your picks this weekend. Over and out.